Welcome to the People of Rochester podcast. Here we share the stories of the people who work hard every day, who help create an environment of hospitality, hope, healing, creativity, and excitement that this city thrives on.
Yeah.
Welcome. Welcome to, what number episode is this, Bucky? Do you know?
632.
632.
Wow. I feel lucky.
We've been at this for a long time.
Oh, wait, it's not even close.
No, I think it's like episode 5, 6, something like that. Is that bad? Like, I literally don't know at this
that's
point.
That's a lucky number.
I think so. Okay, good. We're going to say
I'll
it's 5.
it.
Well, today we have Janaki Burlet. Thanks you so much for being here.
Thanks
did I say your name right?
You did.
Okay, good.
You didn't butcher it.
I did not. So yeah. How long have you lived in Rochester for?
Be 3 years.
3 years.
Yep.
That's
I'm
awesome.
pretty new, but
Yeah.
I've been pretty accommodated around here. So
Yeah.
it's a big city. I'm originally from a small town, Delano. It's just west of the Twin Cities, about 45 minutes. I graduated with 177 kids, so you get to know everybody. And then I moved out to Rochester for the phlebotomy program.
Oh, nice.
And Rochester to me is huge.
Yeah.
So
That's cool hearing that perspective. Because, like, one of our guests recently was like, yeah, Rochester. You know, like,
Yeah.
I've been all over, and Rochester's okay size, you know? It's funny.
It's big to me too, because I grew up in a small town as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely funny hearing it from a different perspective.
it is because, like in Delano, it's a small town and you're very independent. You know everybody, but you can do things on your own. Here, like, I had to, like, break out of a shell almost. So I had to, like, Mayo's huge, so you can get lost. So I had to, like, ask people, like, hey, how do you get to this building, or where's this? And it's a scary thing, so, but I realized how big it is. And
How did you feel when you had to do that for the first time? Like, were you like really intimidated, or did you feel accepted? And
I was intimidated because I'm someone who will just put my head down and just go do it, like, my way and, like, figure it out on my own. And I was so lost. I had no choice but to ask somebody. Like,
Yeah.
And it was like getting on the right bus, because these buses, they go all different places, and so I was very intimidated. Like, it was just, it's scary.
Did you ever end up in the wrong place?
I have with the underground tunnels before.
yeah,
Even till today, like, I'll come into work and I'll be like, I'm going to take a new way to work. And I still find myself lost. And I'm like, okay, I can't be that cocky, but yeah.
that actually did happen to me, I will say, because I've been here for 9 years now, and I felt like I was pretty good. I've worked in hospitality and the clinic, so I thought I knew these like the back of my hand. Like, friends will call me, they'll be in the Skyways. How do I get to where I need to go? I'll tell them, like, I got it. Okay. But I did absolutely get lost. And it was like down where like the Residence Inn Hotel and like one of those parking, like no one really knows about that corner almost of the city, like past the Kaler Inn. And it was like, I don't know.
It's not labeled either.
It's not labeled. Yeah. It was like 30 below that morning, and I did not have a coat. And I was like, I'm taking the subways, and I ended up in a dead end. I don't even know where. And so I had to walk like 3 blocks. It was so cold.
You like pop your head out. You're like,
yeah, I was like, what's happening? But I was so like, I was humbled by that, let me tell you, because I thought I knew it all, and I didn't. I still didn't.
What have you enjoyed about Rochester, just coming here from a small town and now being in the big city?
Yeah, it's so diverse that it's opened my eyes to a lot of different things. Cultures, foods, different types of businesses that you don't get to really necessarily see, in those smaller towns. So it's been really good. It's been positive, which has been nice.
Yeah, absolutely. So you moved here for... Tell us a little bit why you moved here.
Yeah, so I had a relative who worked for Mayo and knew about the phlebotomy program. To be honest with you, I didn't think phlebotomy was doing lab draws. I thought it was like the study of plants. So my mom, my mom told me, like, hey.
I was going to say again, just a remind for all of us non-Mayo, what is phlebotomy? Blood?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. We're the
study of the vein, right?
Okay. All right. Good.
Yeah.
We're vampires.
Yes. The vein whisperers.
So my mom presented, like, hey, there's this opportunity at Mayo. It's like a 10-week course. Like, it's phlebotomy. And I was like, mom wants me to get into study of plants. Like because I at the time I was working at a fitness center. So that's totally two different things, you know? So I was like, all right. So I looked into it and I'm like, I don't think this is a study of plants. This is drawing blood. So
I didn't know you could plant blood.
yeah. So, you know, I looked into it. I applied. I thought, you know, Mayo Clinic, like way up there. Like you have to be super smart and like all this other stuff. Never going to get in. Ended up getting an interview and then, you know, the whole process with that. And so I got into the program, did the clinicals, and then accepted the job. So
Nice.
yeah, it was, I mean, it's fast. It's a fast 10 weeks. So
I don't know why my mind goes there, but I think of the Venus flytrap. Did you ever have to like raise that when you were, or did you want to when you were
Oh, good question.
a kid? Do you remember that?
No.
You know what I'm talking about?
No.
You don't know what I'm talking about?
I think I kind of like have a picture of it in my mind.
So as you were thinking about plants and
Yeah.
that's the job you're coming here for, like the Venus flytrap, like actually, I don't know if it's a living plant, but it like catches flies.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like,
Oh, and
so-
like you had one or like could grow in
I feel
school
like
or something?
I had one. Like I raised like I really wanted one. And I had one. So when you said that, I'm like, maybe that's what the study of phlebotomy is like how Venus flytraps actually do their thing. But no, you found out it was all about blood.
Yeah. And the first thing that came into mind was like, I don't think I can picture myself working in a clinic. Like, and like when we did like the outpatient, I'm like, I just can't see myself. But then, you know, inpatient came along and I'm like,
'Cause
That's
you're
where it's
You're
at.
with people, right?
Yeah, with people.
Inpatient, outpatient. Okay.
yeah, the flow's a lot different. You know, in outpatient, it's kind of that rapid, like they're in, they're out, they're in, they're out. Where inpatient, you have that a little bit more time with that patient in the room.
Yeah.
So,
So is outpatient like where people donate blood?
oh yeah, it's yes and no. But it's like if you have a doctor's appointment and they need lab draws, you go in and then you leave that same day. Where inpatient, you're bedded for
Yeah.
a duration of time. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've worked in both, and I think, I mean, outpatient definitely has its pros in like the schedule, and you know, if you're wanting to do almost something a little more mindless, outpatient, you know, not saying it's mindless, but like it's just more repetitive, and inpatient you are kind of like problem solving constantly. It seems like so. It's just
The people's situations.
yeah, and like communicating with nurses, communicating with doctors, even your own team members. A lot of the time, things actually 100% of the time things don't go as planned.
Yeah.
So you can plan, okay, I'm going to be in this room for this amount of time, and you're in there for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Or, you know, something happens, it's a bad draw, you only get so much blood. Then you end up doing math, and then, you know, there's just lots of different like variables that go along with that. It's a lot more exciting, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because each hour of your day is so different.
So different.
So different.
A lot of people have grown up in Rochester, or they've moved here for something else, but you kind of moved here for your job. So kind of you've seen the city through the scope of Mayo.
Correct.
Maybe, is that accurate?
Yeah. It's you know, one of those things where people say, "Where are you from?" and you're like, "Oh, Rochester," and they're confused, and you're like, "Mayo. I'm from Mayo Clinic," and they're like, "Oh, okay, now I know where you're from." You know, so you know, having that title behind you, it almost kind of labels you in a little bit, like, "Oh, Mayo Clinic," you know. But there's so much more to Rochester, you know, just than the hospitals.
So what are your favorite things? What are things that really stand out to you over the last 3 years that have really made an impact?
I love food.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you love food. Yeah.
Okay.
I just tried a new restaurant on, I think it was Thursday. It's over by the airport. The Los Arcos. Yeah.
Love that spot.
Never been there before.
What did you get?
So I got the house margarita.
Which is like the size of this table.
Yes.
Really?
Yep. And then I did a chimichanga, and it was amazing.
What's the chimichanga again?
It's like it's almost like just a giant burrito. And you can get chicken or steak, and it's just got this really nice, yummy sauce on top. And
Nice.
it was really good.
I didn't even know that was out there.
It's fairly new, I think.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
New. Yep.
Yeah.
They opened prior to COVID, and things were ramping up, and of course COVID hit. So then they now have a food truck that they're working on getting approved,
Okay.
and they want to put in a food truck somewhere in town. And they added on with their deck. They added like this little area for drinks and stuff like that with their deck. They have a nice patio seating like outside and everything. So they're getting through it. But it's a young family. from Red Wing, and they have another restaurant in Red Wing, and they wanted to move to the big city of Rochester, and this is their shot that they're making a run. It was a turnkey operation because it was previously ground rounds.
Okay.
So it had all the hoods and all that stuff. So
nice.
And we went kind of dinner prime time area, like about that time, and they were pretty busy. I mean, we sat outside, but they were still pretty busy. But they were good. So I would recommend going there. Their house margaritas are really good.
That's awesome. That sounds really good.
Yeah.
So what other kinds of places, like when you first showed up and you're trying to figure out the city, do you have any like Newts?
All I hear about is like Newts when you go Rochester Newts. You're thinking, what is that? You know, but it's kind of that American bar food, tons of different beers and wines and stuff, and that's another good recommendation. I actually have a friend who's coming here this weekend from home, and she goes, "Can we go to Newts?" She's like, "I've heard good things." I'm like, "Oh heck yeah, we can go to Newts."
that's great.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
So I'm really excited for her to come to Rochester. I've lived here for 3 years, and this is her first time being able to come down. So I'm gonna show her Newts and some good fun things to do around Rochester. So
That'll be really fun.
might be just a drive by the hospital. That's where I work, but let's go.
Let's keep going.
Let's keep going.
But I think even the hospital is a cool tourist spot too.
It is.
You know,
My family, when they were in town, I did give them a little tour. You know, just walked by the lab. That's where I work.
Yeah.
Because you can't bring them in, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's so big. An all day tour would be.
It is. It's
Yeah.
really, really big. Sometimes I forget how big that is. I know you like beer. What's your favorite beer spot? Is it Newt's? Or
No, so a big spot that we like to go to, like some of us evening shifters, after a long day of work, we'll go to Beatles. Yep, and then right across the street, there's oh my gosh, Thesis.
Thesis.
Have you ever been there?
I've never been.
there?
I've
On
heard
the
good
patio,
things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's good.
They got some good stuff. My favorite beer from them is the Two Bananas.
2 bananas.
Yeah, it's like a beer. It's a tall. It's like about this tall.
Yeah.
And one drink will do you good. But it's delish.
Taking the lime scooter home.
Yeah. yeah.
Those lime scooters are fun. Have you been on those?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And I actually use them quite a bit for business, just having the office downtown and stuff. And I got to go somewhere. It's like, go get my truck and just get on a lime scooter. And I get right over to that spot. People always kind of look at you when you show up to a property showing on a lime scooter. You're like, I got here.
Yeah.
What's up? What's up?
It's a deal.
Yeah.
Do you live downtown?
Yeah, I'm actually over back by the Civic Center, so I'm really close. I'm in walking distance of downtown,
Okay.
which is nice, but I have not used one.
You've never used one. I've never used one either.
I'm a little scared.
Me too. I'm
'Cause
scared.
I see people riding them, and they look like they're going really fast.
They do 15 miles an hour.
Is it like a lot of balance? Like, is it?
No.
No.
I mean, you'll get it down. I think if I had to provide you advice of how to ride a lime scooter,
Yes.
I would say
Official
one,
lime
you have
scooter
to
advice.
pay, because if you try to go without paying, it like the brakes automatically go on.
Oh.
So like you can't give it a shit. Like you kind of want to try it, but then it's like, honestly, it doesn't work. So you got to pay. It's $1, and then it's however many. It's not quite $1, but less than $1 per minute, I think. But don't hit the throttle. Just like old school Razor scooters, like just go and do it with your feet and just kind of ride it without hitting the throttle. And then when you're daring enough, just kind of press on the throttle. And it has how fast you're going on the speedometer right on there. So you can watch it go 5 miles an hour, 10.
How fast have you gone?
15. You can all the way down is 15 miles an hour.
So you can control your speed, though.
Yeah.
Okay.
With the
And
throttle.
there's a brake for you to hit brake.
Yep. There's a
Okay.
brake. Yep.
This might give you enough confidence to try it.
Maybe I'll do it on
Yeah.
Friday.
Yeah.
Saturday.
Yeah.
And I'll report back to you.
But I wouldn't try it after drinking 2 bananas because I don't think that would be a good mix.
No, drinking and
Do it
driving.
prior to the bananas and then
Just walk home.
Walk home. Yeah.
That's all.
Always be safe.
that's a nice walk though, isn't it? Like
Yeah, it
across
is.
the bike trail, and
Yeah.
there's always you have to watch out for the goose poop that's on the path. But
So much. There's
I was
so
like hissing
much.
back at them when they hiss at me. You ever do that?
No,
I do it all the
I
time.
get scared because
I know they can attack you.
yeah.
Then when they hiss at you, just like, what are you hissing at? I'll hiss back at you.
I just imagine Bucky on his lime scooter hissing at geese as he drives by, going to a show.
I'm not scared of you.
That's good. You have to be. You can't be scared of them. Like you have. You're just
They see your weakness
Yeah.
and come for it.
So speaking of walking and walking paths, have you found like a favorite walking path, or do you like hiking at all? Or
Love hiking.
Yeah.
Out here in Rochester with Quarry Hill, it's one of my favorite spots to go is Quarry Hill. And it's a nature center too, so there's so much more than just hiking and stuff like that. I just found out that they have caves. Mm-hmm. They do cave tours over there.
I didn't know they do tours. That's cool.
Okay.
I have yet to see that.
Yeah.
So that really has struck my interest. So I didn't know that, but
I don't think I realized that. Well, I guess I've walked past them before, now that I think about it, but I didn't know you could go in there.
I don't even know where they are. Is it just right off the main trail there?
I don't know. I know
There's a couple of them off the trail.
Yeah, in school I went to them. The ones that I pictured, they have like the metal gates in front of them.
Yeah,
where you
I've
can't
seen
go in,
those.
But those might be the ones you give. They give tours.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. I've just been, I've like wandered up there for so long. Do you just do that? Just kind of just go to walk and.
Yeah. And actually I find a new place every time I go, which is great. Cause it's almost better sometimes to go by yourself because you're on your time, your leisure. Like you don't have to worry about someone else and like their time, and you just go explore. I think that's the best way to do it, especially when it comes to hiking. I mean, I love going with people, but I think I find out a lot about myself when I end up going by myself.
It's relaxing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really
therapeutic,
relaxing.
too.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you decide, you're like, oh, there's a little mini trail over there, and you don't have to worry about it.
Right.
Do you want to come?
Yeah.
You could just go.
Well, and I've gone with people before hiking, and they're just like, that doesn't look safe. And I'm like,
Are you kidding?
you don't look safe. We're going. Let's go. Like, we're out of here.
I told you shouldn't wear flip-flops.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is not a flip-flop hike. No, that's fun. That's really fun. No, Quarry Hill is really awesome. I'm a huge fan of Quarry Hill too. Have you ever been out to Whitewater?
I love Whitewater.
Have you also ever been out to Chester Woods?
I have.
Okay, so Chester Woods is that's my favorite.
Yeah.
I love Chester Woods. If you go, this is my fall tour tip.
All right.
Is
Lime tips.
my fall tour tips is I think it's like different in the autumn though than in the summer. The summer is also beautiful, but the way the sun sets in the fall, I would say like starting late September into October, as the leaves, kind of like right as leaves start changing, the way that the sun sets over the river down in Chester Woods is like magical. It is so beautiful that when you kind of skip over like the beach area, I don't know if you know the area very well, but if you go down to where the river is on the east side and you walk down that path, it's like, it's beyond anything I've ever, it's so beautiful. And like other guests, like I've traveled, I've been to other places in the world, but that place is just, it's so gorgeous.
It's so cool how big the trees are that are in the water. That's the neat thing about it, because it's it's like Silver Lake, it's just water.
Yeah.
And they like they're like
the trees are,
alive
like,
in there.
growing out of the water.
Yeah, like it's amazing.
I've only been there once, and I've seen a lot of kayakers,
Yes.
canoes, fishing. So I do want to go back, but I didn't venture too far when I was there. I didn't have much time though. That's the problem. So I'm sure there's a lot to see, but I do hope to go back.
Yeah, I highly, highly suggest going there. Like taking like 2 or 3 hours, even if you don't take 2 or 3 hours, like you're there. But yeah, it's really, really beautiful.
What's your experience like finding a place to live in Rochester, coming from a small town? Was that intimidating? Was it easy? Was it?
For me, it was pretty easy, because when I came out here for school, I had relatives who lived in Austin, so I got to stay with them throughout the program. And then when I first was hired on, I stayed with them for probably the first 2 months of my employment. And during that time, just looking for a place. And actually a coworker of mine, because it's a duplex, so it's in a big house that's split into apartments. She's like, hey, there's this apartment available in the building. Call this number. And I called and I applied, and it was just like, here you go. You can move in December. So it was actually really smooth. I feel like if that opportunity didn't arise, I think it would have been a little bit more difficult because, there's always places for rent, but they go so fast.
They do.
Because people are just coming in, going, and, but it was actually pretty smooth. So
Good.
What did you find? You kind of mentioned earlier about the culture in Rochester. Is there other things that maybe stood out to you when you first arrived, and then maybe things that you've learned as you've been here for a couple of years?
Yeah, you know, coming from Delano, which is, I mean, it's growing now since I've been there and, you know, since I've left. But growing up in high school in Delano, it, you know, it's a white community, you know, and I was, you know, a person of only color there.
Yeah.
So that's what I kind of grew up with. Where you come to Rochester, we're so diverse. You have every ethnic group here. And, you know, you think of all the social media that goes around and, you know, it labels each group how it is. But then you really get to know everybody and you're like, wow, like, amazing. I have some of the best of friends, and we're all from different parts of the world and states and countries. And it's amazing. Mm-hmm. And it's a good eye opener. It's a good, you know, it's a positive thing.
Absolutely.
Because, you know, you get into another group and they might make like a comment and you're like, you know what, actually though, that's one of my best friends. Like, you know, someone who comes from that type of, you know, community per se.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting how that kind of just turned.
Yeah. It kind of just like opens up this like idea that like you grow up a certain way, or you see or you hear certain labels and like they're put on certain people, and you're like, and then you meet those people, right. And you're like, that's not exactly how it is.
Yeah.
And I think it's important too that not only like for me or you who have experienced that, you probably grew up in that way in Rochester here. But also to share that then with somebody and say, that's not the case.
Yeah. I think it's interesting hearing about the small town, and like me growing up here, like our high school is very, very diverse.
Yeah.
And you have opportunities to interact with people, and their parents are from all over the place too, because they're here usually because of Mayo. And so it's just like growing up in it, you take it for granted.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, it's the norm. Mm-hmm. You know, isn't this how it, like, don't we all kind of get along in certain, you know, like, it doesn't matter where your background.
Unfortunately, no.
No, right.
Yeah.
So we're fortunate in that regards with Rochester of having people from all over the world be here.
Do you see yourself being here for a while then?
Yeah, I mean, even if I don't stay with my current job, there's so many other places to work. I do have a part-time job. I work at the Rochester Athletic Club.
Oh, okay.
So, because before Mayo, I was working in a gym, you know, for Lifetime. So, being able to kind of get back into that groove again, it's just given me another reason to stay, you know, because it's a gym. It's a positive environment to be in, and you meet so many different people, you know, in that type of environment. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I've got some cousins who live, you know, just like right in Byron. And I mean, that's so close, and they work here in Rochester. So it's not like I'm like homesick or lonely. Like I've got people here. Mm-hmm. That gives me a reason to stay. It's interesting. When I first moved out here, I was very homesick for Delano. I was going home every weekend, missed my parents, you know, wanted to see my puppy, like all this stuff. But now when I go to Delano, I'm just itching to get back to Rochester.
That's
like,
cool.
You know, so it's like my heart is in two different places, but when it's like I'm away from Rochester, it's like.
I'm curious, how long did it take you to do that? Because I had that experience as well. Yeah. But how long was it when you?
I would have to say, so I'm going to be in my third year here, probably 2.5 years, because the first 2 years, it's, you know, you're here, this is your life, you're adjusting. I was doing things with friends, so it's not like I was sitting at home alone, bored, being homesick. It was like, that's where my people were, like,
sure.
But now that I've accustomed this life, I've found hobbies, I found things to do that I enjoy. It's really hard to be pulled away from that. Mm-hmm. So when you are away from that, you just want to get back, you know, so it's interesting.
Yeah.
What are, going through this COVID pandemic, what are some things that you've just now done because of COVID or the pandemic? So for example, I've never done this before. I bought headphones online. Like usually if I buy headphones, I go down to Best Buy or something like that. I was like, I don't even know if Best Buy was open. So how has it changed kind of your life? They're small or big?
Yeah, I got into Legos.
Legos?
Yeah. So one of the big things was being quarantined at home for a while. I mean, you can only watch so much Netflix. You can only read so many books. You can only, you know, cook so much.
And were you furloughed? Like
I was not. No.
Okay.
But there was, you know, there were some periods of time where I would have a span of time off.
And I will say, even if, because I wasn't furloughed either, it's still very, like, you did feel the quarantine a little bit.
Right.
You did feel the fact that everything is closed. Friends aren't going out, like churches, gyms, things that like, and I didn't even think I did a lot of stuff. Salons, even like, I didn't think I did. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not doing anything. So I feel like even if you were still working, you still felt the effects of it quite a bit.
Yeah. I mean, because at that point, it's like you just go to work and go home.
Right.
That's all you can do. But yeah, my best friend and I, we got into Legos. So we've been going to like Target and Walmart and buying Lego sets. And we built like a fire station. We've got the
Fun.
I know it seems so nerdy, but like when we're grown adults, but like I loved it because it makes time go by fast. And we built this little car, and I was just like, this is so cool because Legos are complicated.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I've never really
done Legos.
It's been a while, but I see like those big models.
I can't imagine.
I mean, we built just this little car, and that was like 700 pieces, and we're going through the instructions, and it took us like 2 months to get it done because, like, so I'm like, does the piece go like this? But the instructions say this.
So it's almost like a complicated puzzle in a way.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, Legos have changed so much since I was a kid, but
yeah.
And do they grade them? Like you can get the extra complicated Lego set, or
I think so. Like right on the box, you
Yeah.
know, and then it's just like, oh.
that's families in my family, we have the the puzzle that sits out on the dining room table during holidays. It would be fun to actually put a Lego set out there.
Yeah.
Another cool thing is it's always difficult with like the puzzles, because you end up just put it back in the box, maybe next year, whatever. With the Lego, you could keep it set up somewhere.
Yeah.
Like we did that. That's cool.
Yeah. It's interesting. Like Legos are fun, but I mean, we got the car done. We got this big fire station done. My parents sent down because wasn't able to go home during that time. They sent a package, and it was a Lego set of Harry Potter.
Oh, fun!
So that was fun. We haven't started that one yet, but I just recently got back from the Black Hills, and so we went to the monument, and I got a Lego set of the monument.
Oh, that's really
But
fun.
we opened it, and the pieces are so tiny that I know it's going to take us for hours.
Wow.
Because it's very like precise on how the monument looks.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I want to give this a shot.
Yeah, no, that's really
I'll
fun.
be frustrated about a quarter of the way in. Like, this sucks.
Yeah.
I'm never doing Legos again.
Yeah.
You'll just throw the whole thing. Like, screw it. That's really fun.
Yeah. So I've learned that I have a small love for Lego.
I love that.
Would have thought.
Yeah.
Picked up cooking though too.
Yeah.
Trying to cook in meals.
Did you cook bread? Bake bread. Cook bread. Did you bake bread?
Did I bake bread?
Yeah. No. I felt there was like a shortage of stuff in Rochester. Everyone was making bread.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't?
I didn't.
I didn't either. Did you, Bucky? Did you make any bread?
I don't make anything.
In your free time?
I don't make anything. I'm the worst.
No, you're not the worst.
I'm frozen meals. That's what I do.
Yeah.
DoorDash.
I have to say, like, I'm not super great at cooking either, but
That's what DoorDash is for.
yes, that's what all these wonderful restaurants in Rochester are for.
We appreciate them. more
The
than
one
we
thing,
know.
actually, COVID, I usually don't order takeout normally. I like to go out, but I really wanted to try Taco Jed. And so that was the one place that I actually like took the time and I went to go pick it up, and it was really good.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
I've been there before.
Yeah. Yeah.
They just, Janpachi, they have their
Yes.
food truck now, the Samurai
Oh,
food truck.
right. I've seen a lot of it
Yeah.
on Facebook.
It's really good.
Okay.
I was a big Janpachi fan. Like, always wanted to go there.
You ever go to Zen Fusion?
No.
You got to try Zen Fusion. I
Is
like
that
one.
sushi?
They
Or-
got it all. Yeah, they have the hibachi grills and
Oh,
everything
okay.
too.
Oh,
So
fun.
it's kind of like Janpachi to a certain extent. It's a little bit bigger, so it doesn't feel as just quaint as
Oh,
Janpachi
okay.
did. But,
What about you?
stayed
Did
at
you do
home.
anything? Did you do anything
Well,
different?
I moved my desk to my house.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So that was just different, working from home and trying to stay focused and
Yeah.
not get too distracted.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I can just go watch TV and pop some frozen meals in the microwave, So that was different. I enjoyed it. And what else? Just Amazon. I would say that's the biggest thing. It was like
Oh, yeah.
buying stuff, that I,
Oh, I think my purchases definitely went up. I bought a lot more stuff online.
yeah.
Did you buy more stuff online? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Not just
Coming
like
in the box.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
like Christmas all over.
It is fun. Actually, did you learn about that in the Science of Wellbeing class as we took that class? So we took the Yale class.
Yep.
And yeah, so we should probably say that before we start talking about it.
Oh. Well, and actually, I think you posted about it, I think, on Facebook, and I clicked the link, and then I was like, oh, yeah. Because that's actually how we kind of started talking.
That's right.
Because we worked together. Yes, we worked together.
Yeah.
And I knew that you, I think, had worked there before, and then you must have left. Because when I started, you weren't there.
No.
And when you came back, we maybe just had very little conversation.
Yeah.
But we were friends. I think I just added you on Facebook just because they're like, oh, hey, she's on my shift.
Yeah. We'll be friends.
I messaged you about that Yale class that we were taking, and I think that's kind of how we started. And then actually the real reason how I got to know you was actually through your podcast.
Oh, really?
So interesting, right?
Yeah.
Because we've had like these little conversations here and there at work, but then when you posted your podcast, I'm like, you know what, coworker, gonna support her, gonna listen.
Oh, thanks, Janaki.
So I did, and you can learn so much about someone through a podcast.
Yeah.
Because that's like, now I feel like I know more about you than us maybe even having that conversation even at work. Because
absolutely,
we're never really scheduled together, so it's interesting. So like, yeah, that's how I kind of got to know you.
That's cool. Yeah. That's really cool.
So, but anyways, that Yale class, we took that and we kind of just talked a little bit about it. Like,
yeah. But I thought was really interesting is it kind of goes into a little bit of the whole point of it is the science of well-being, finding what makes us happy, finding what, I don't know, like what can improve our well-being and our positive attitude on life. And they might not be what we think it is. Right. So I found that fascinating because that's like how I live my life is to try to be happier and try to like be more positive and find ways to like improve my life.
Yeah.
So if there are things that I think are improving my life that aren't, then I just want to get rid of them. I don't want to waste my time.
What's an example?
So this just made me think of it really quick was actually when you, this wasn't really a main point, but when you get a package in the mail, right? Like every time you open up a package, your brain is like, oh my gosh, this is the best thing ever. It's Christmas, right? And so you can open up one box and like all your stuff is in there, but you're the same amount of excited or like your brain, I'm not a scientist, okay? Right. But like you're the same amount of excited if you open up one package with one thing as you are opening up the other package with one thing. Like it doesn't matter what's in it. It matters that you get a package and you get to open it. So she says, the professor said, if you order off Amazon, order in a bunch of different packages.
Yeah.
Spread it out.
Yeah. She's like, it's not super great for the environment, but it's definitely like, it improves your well-being. So, that just made me think of that. But yeah, that class was really interesting. What was like a main thing that you took away from that you found fascinating or interesting?
I thought the scores. So at the beginning of the class, they make you score yourself based on your happiness. I don't know if it was more like on mood or...
Yeah, a little bit, I think.
A little bit about that and your personality. And at the beginning, my scores were really low. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, I'm thinking to myself, like, am I just like a really sad person?
Yeah,
like,
because you think you're happy, but then I scored a little low too.
Yeah, and so I'm like thinking in my mind, I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, you know.
And they're probably asking you tough questions. It's not like...
Yeah.
They were kind of a little more deep. They were like, how often are you spending time doing what you love? Yeah. Or how often are you, spending time improving yourself? And it was a lot of like personal reflection, like, do you live in regret or are you focusing on negative things where like day to day, I wouldn't think I was, but then when you really get down to it, I think I was.
Yeah.
So,
and it was interesting because then at the end of the class, they had you rescore same questions and my scores had gone up and I was like, oh, like,
yeah, but right. I think that was the point, right? So like through all the weeks, they were like adding a different habit or a different action that we would do every day for ourselves, whether it was like journaling, meditation, and then some kind of like brain games that we play with ourselves. Like, what was the one? Reliving or something. I don't remember what it was called.
I don't remember either, but it's nice that they have like these little goals for you that you can work on between each week, and new challenges to try. So it's almost like a therapeutic thing, like trying to like get your mind to like refocus and like get back on that track, because I mean, it couldn't have come at a better time because
Yeah.
COVID, you know.
Yeah.
And you did it at home?
Yep. It's all online.
Where my mind went is, like you said, journaling. I'm not one to journal. Like, maybe I've tried it once where I'm like, all right, I'll start a journal. And then like 2 days in, I'm like, I'm not journaling. But that's where social media actually has helped with that. Of like, I enjoy storytelling.
Yeah.
And so like yesterday I was sharing about kind of my experience with a recent meeting for real estate. And I journaled that, I would say, on my Instagram stories.
Yeah.
And that, I don't realize that it's actually a well-being type thing, but I enjoy that.
Yeah.
You know, just that storytelling.
Yeah. Well, and then I think too, then you can remember it because
Yeah,
not
it's
only,
there.
yeah. And then you're able to go back. I mean, I have a really bad memory. So I'm glad that I keep track of some stories on my highlights, on my Instagram, and I'm able to go back months later and, oh, I forgot that I did that. That is, you know, it's definitely, I don't know. I think that's awesome. Yeah. And it's something that comes naturally to you.
Yeah.
Right? It's not natural to sit down with a pen and paper. And
I can't ever find the notebook.
I'm not really good at that either.
that's
I
the
know. I
notebook.
do the same. I buy like cute notebooks and then I lose them.
Someone put a notebook on my desk back there. Like, I think this is yours. It's a cute little notebook. It's definitely not mine. I'm like, I will lose that notebook. You should not put that on my desk.
That's funny. Well, thank you, Janaki. Is there anything else that like you want to say, or I don't know, tell our listeners that any positive experience you've had in Rochester or something you're excited for, or
If you've never been, come
yeah.
To Rochester.
to Rochester.
Yeah.
You don't have to just come for Mayo, because there is so much more to do. There's food, there's drinks, there's hiking.
Like, we got to provide these tips for people that are coming during this
cool.
unique time.
I
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
Tip for this, go around the horn, this unique time.
This unique time.
Because eventually it's going to be fall. You're not going to be sitting out on patios as much.
Well, I was gonna say we have really good patios, but
I got one.
yes.
So I went to the arcade this last weekend. That's over by Snappy Stop. It's Rochester Games and Arcade.
Yeah.
And like, my well-being meter must have went up because I was having fun. Like,
Really?
Oh yeah. There's like all these old school games, which was cool. But then on top of that, they have axe throwing in the back. Oh, and there's something
fun.
There's something to be said about throwing an axe and having it stick at the end in the
Yeah.
board. You're like, I can do this. Like, I'm good at this. you
Yeah,
know?
yeah,
And
yeah.
they have all these different types of axes. They have like small, little, skinny ones, and like these huge, tall ones. And
Okay.
So,
All right.
and you can do it. You got to wear your mask.
Yeah.
It's all good. Employees
Okay.
are wearing their mask. And
Okay.
they limit however many people are in there, but I think right now business is tough. It's not a lot of people going out. So there wasn't
That's
a
a
lot
fun
of people
idea,
there.
though, to do with friends.
Yeah. So there's my well-being tip. Go throw some axes.
That's fun. Well, thank you so much for joining
Thank
us,
you for
Janaki.
having me. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. We are out.
Out.